Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar. Presenting for us today is Kyle Geschi, one of our finalists from Conestoga College. Now, before we get started, I'd like to let all the attendees know that if you have any questions during this presentation, you can just type them into the Q&A box found in your Zoom toolbar, and those questions will be answered after the presentation has finished. Hi, Kyle. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. And yourself?
I'm also doing good, thanks. And Kyle, since you're already sharing your screen with us, you can get started whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Kyle Geschi, and today I'll be presenting Israel, Selling a Destination in the Age of Sustainable Tourism. Now, before we can sell the destination as the amazing sustainable tourism option it is, we have to understand the destination. As you can see here, I've broken it down into 5 subcategories: politics, geography, culture, economy, and legal, to better understand Israel as a whole. Let's begin. The country or state of Israel was formed on May 14th, 1948, as the first Jewish state in 2,000 years. It went on to be recognized as the first and sole Zionist nation, referring to the movement for the reestablishment, development, and protection of a Jewish nation. It is also the only country in the Middle East to practice democracy in its politics. The current leader is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of the Likud Party, a center-right-leaning political group. One thing for travelers to note is there is still ongoing conflicts in and around the country. This is not to dissuade potential visitors to the country, but to make sure they note the travel advisories and take the necessary precautions. Israel can be broken down into 4 geographic regions comprised of the coastal plains up in the northern area where the majority of its population resides, Central Hills, the Jordan Rift Valley, and the Negev Desert. The former 3 covering the north side of the country and the latter taking up the majority of the south. The Mediterranean climate ranges from tropical and sunny during the spring and summer, which is May through October, to temperate and rainy during the fall and winter, being November through April. The south stays dry and sunny all year round for the most part. Sandstorms and droughts can happen during the summers, while flooding can occur in the north during the winters. Surrounding countries include Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, while major bodies of water include the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, the Dead Sea, and the Jordan River. Israel's 8.25 million population is primarily made up of Jewish citizens at 75% and Arabic citizens, mostly Muslim, at 20.7%. Therefore, it is no surprise that the 2 national languages are Hebrew and Arabic. The culture is rich with art, history, and particularly religion, being known as the Holy Land, with many ancient sites and exhibits related to Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Druze, and Circassian religions, bringing in religious tourists or pilgrims from all over the world. They thrive on a Middle Eastern diet of spicy and savory flavors. Think hummus, falafel, rice, etc. And the fashion ranges anywhere from beach casual to modest and reserved, depending on where you go in the country. The national currency of Israel is the shekel. It is available in 20, 50, 100, and 200 numerical value bills. As for coins, they come in 10 agora, their equivalent of cents to our dollar, half shekel, 1, 2, 5, and 10 numerical value variants. The currency exchange rate is 39 Canadian cents per shekel, giving Canadian tourists a 61% positive bang for their buck. For Canadian travelers wishing to leisurely visit Israel, no specialty visa is required for stays under 90 days, nor for business or student travelers alike. However, a special visa must be applied for if wishing to work in Israel. Passports must be valid for a minimum of 6 months from the day you will be returning from Israel. Upon entry, you will be given an entry card to keep with your passport, and both should be carried at all times. When visiting religious sites or even cities, Be sure to dress modestly. Headscarves and long-sleeve dresses for women, and long-sleeve shirts and pants for men. Hats may also be required and possibly provided for men at some sites. Expect increased security due to conflicts, which can mean bag checks while out and about. Comply and go on with your day. When taking pictures of people or at religious sites, make sure it is okay beforehand. Simply ask permission if unsure. Do not photograph police or soldiers. Respect all religious holidays. One such example is Shabbat, which occurs weekly from Friday evening to Saturday evening. It is a time for religious reflection, and things that would usually be acceptable, such as driving or working, are prohibited. Just be educated and you should have no problems. Now that we've established a brief overview of what to expect from Israel, let's focus in on the prime tourism destinations throughout the country and what they have to offer so we can best pair them to our clients' needs. First off, we have Tel Aviv, the hustle and bustle big city of Israel. Named one of the top 10 beach cities by National Geographic, it is swimming with 16 different beaches to visit, each with its own style to offer. If shopping is your thing, then you'll have to check out the Jaffa Flea Market, one of the oldest bazaars in the region, among many other markets. The nightlife is alive and well every night into the early hours of the morning. Whether you're looking for an upbeat dance club or a laid-back cafe, you can find it in Tel Aviv. The foodie options of the city are to drool for, from street eats to high-end dining, and even a variety of vegan fare. You'll be hard-pressed not to find something to love at one of the 4,500 eateries, many of which are operated by acclaimed chefs. Here we have pictured the Jaffa Flea Market with its traditional and culturally authentic offerings. Secondly, but by no means second place, we have Jerusalem, the capital city of Israel. A booming metropolis of artistry, it is home to the Israel Museum, one of the world's leading museums in art and archaeology, the Bible Lands Museum, described as an interactive time capsule, and the Artists' Colony of Jerusalem, a working/shopping space for creators, sellers, and buyers of local art. Not to mention a slew of festivals throughout the year, so there's always something to look forward to. Bring the history of this 3,000-year-old city to life by experiencing it yourself. Venture through the old city of Jerusalem, shop the old city market, visit the City of David archaeological site, and be sure to stop by the Western Wall, the most important prayer site of Jewish faith across the globe. Despite Jerusalem's ancient appeal, its modern shopping malls and sought-after dishes show why this city is no forgotten relic. And here we have pictured the Western Wall with multiple pilgrims in prayer. You can also submit your prayers via written notes in the cracks on the wall. If you can see in the areas right around here, we can see some in place. Next up is Eilat and Negev. Located towards the south of Israel, they make for both literal and figurative vacation hotspots. Resorts abound blanket the beachy coastline of Eilat, giving ample opportunity for some rest and relaxation before taking part in what the surrounding area has to offer. When night falls, you'll be free to see for yourself Eilat's rather unique record for most clubs, bars, and alternative entertainment venues per capita in Israel. By day, thrill seekers can take part in some of the many adventure tourism options Eilat and Negev are known for: jet skiing, ATVing, and paragliding, to name just a few. Or, for all the eco-tourists out there, take a dive down into the Red Sea's coral reef, or a breathtaking hike and bike along Negev's over 900-kilometer long Israel National Trail, connecting Eilat to Mount Hermon with plenty to see and experience along the way. Pictured here, we have the Red Sea's coral reef with a diver enjoying himself in the background. Now, I'd like to welcome you all to the north of Israel, a lush and green countryside farming up more than just the country's crops. This eco-tourist paradise has opportunities aplenty for connecting with nature, One such unique option is staying in a kibbutz, a community living, eco-friendly homestead in which residents tend to and live off the land as a team. If you prefer a more lavish over labor lifestyle, then it's the wine routes you'll want to explore. Thanks to the vast array of climate conditions across Israel, it allows for vineyards to grow and produce a variety of different grapes, meaning equal variety of different wines to try along the way. Adventure tourists can also find the thrills they seek in the north, ranging all over the map from whitewater rafting and skydiving or skiing and snowboarding, just to list a handful. Just another advantage of Israel's expansive climate. And here we can see a lovely kibbutz, very natural, very peaceful, super minimalist, and great for anyone looking to get in touch with nature. Now, finally, and quite poetically, we arrive at the Dead Sea, a natural phenomenon and a must-see for all travelers to Israel. Sitting at 428 meters below sea level with an astounding 31.5% salt concentration that allows bathers to effortlessly float on the water, there is much to marvel over this attraction. Furthermore, it is the world's largest natural spa. Tourists are not only encouraged to bathe in its salt-rich waters, but to lather themselves in its mineral-rich muds for the ultimate detox experience. The mere existence of the Dead Sea in this location has spawned a number of man-made spas in close proximity, hoping to capitalize on their share of the abundant spa tourism. The Dead Sea also plays into a unique segment of health tourism due to the extra distance the sun's light must travel to reach it. Accompanied with the enriched oxygen produced by its ultraviolet lights are filtered enough even the fairest skinned tourist can tan but not burn. Even those with respiratory issues such as asthma and skin conditions such as psoriasis report receiving temporary relief while exposed to the water and mud respectively, branching into a deeper element of medical tourism. The Dead Sea is also surrounded by a great many beaches, boasting the same high 16 as Tel Aviv, and much more development for tourism, hotels, restaurants, etc. is planned for the already growing area. Now, if you are going to visit the Dead Sea, then a trip to the nearby Masada should be in the books for you as well. From the outside, it appears to be nothing more than a mountain, which in itself is a fairly intriguing sight. But the history that took place within it is far more captivating, which has led it to become the second most visited attraction in Israel, only falling behind Jerusalem. As the story goes, after the Romans overtook and destroyed Jerusalem in the year 70, the refugees of Jerusalem, or Zealots, sought shelter inside Masada. Unfortunately, they were tracked down by the Romans, and upon realizing they would be at best slaughtered or at worst enslaved, their leader, Elazar ben Yair, led his people through a mass suicide that would claim the lives of 960 Jewish refugees. Although it sounds rather dark, the Jewish people have actually spun the story into a more positive folklore and piece of history alongside the reminder to never let the Holy Land fall again. Now, if you're as excited and captivated by all of the above as I am, there should be no trouble selling this destination to your clients. However, in the age of sustainable tourism, it is not only important to sell a destination on the basis of what it can do for us, but on what we can do for it. That is the basis for the ever-growing trend of sustainable tourism, giving back while receiving, leaving a location in better condition as it has left us. As I'm sure you can all tell by now, I love my breakdowns, so I have again broken down sustainable tourism into 3 more digestible subcategories of ecotourism, ethical or responsible tourism, and volunteer tourism. So, ecotourism. For this next part, I found a bunch of online resources, so I would rather actually go outside my PowerPoint to show you all of what I found here so you can actually view the sites. So this one here falling under ecotourism is the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. It is a local organization that does help protect natural parks, reserves, and environments, and is a great one to work with if you're looking to be an ecotourist in the area. This right here, Kibbutz Lotan, is a highly recommended kibbutz. for people to stay in. It even has like a green specialization course that you can take in advance. And this one is another really neat one I found for ecotourism. It is essentially a bike rental program in Tel Aviv. So instead of using like gas or like vehicles to get around, you can use the more eco-friendly bike. And there's over 150 stations across the city where you can easily rent and then redeposit the bikes at. You don't have to necessarily deposit them back at the same one you were at, which makes for very easy moving around. Now for ethical tourism, this one falls less under the natural side and more under like an idea of respect and just understanding even like fair trade aspects, giving back to the local economy and making sure that you're actually helping the overall local environment, not the natural, but more the man-made aspects of it. So here. So with this one, we have the responsible tourism in Israel. This site here was fantastic, as plenty of tips for how to be a responsible tourist when traveling Israel. Tons of little information, such as even the one I mentioned earlier on Shabbat. We have Go Jerusalem here. Unfortunately, this isn't actually the site, but it does talk about this social seal, which unfortunately I wasn't able to find an official site for. But this one is really neat. It's overall known as the Tav Shivrati seal program, which essentially it's based out of Jerusalem, and it goes around to restaurants and other such businesses. And it will actually give them like a proper seal of approval if they pay their workers fairly, provide proper accessibility options for people with disabilities, including wheelchair ramps, braille menus, and other such amenities. Now, this next one here actually kind of falls in between ethical tourism and volunteer tourism. It is a site that you can use to actually kind of background check volunteer tourism that you would be going through to make sure that it is actually up to an ethical standard and your work is going to the right cause or money is going towards the right cause. Now, finally, we have volunteer tourism, which again, partly branches into that one. Now with this one here, we have this volunteer site. This one is actually known as the Jewish Coalition for Service. You do not have to actually be Jewish to join, but it allows you to connect with volunteer opportunities within Israel. And then this one here, in case you don't find any on that site, it's technically an all around, like you can search from multiple places, but there were plenty of options on here for volunteer tourism opportunities within Israel. Here I just have a little list of some of my sources, as well as another over here. Now, if there are any further questions or comments, I'm happy to answer anything. My email is right in here for you guys. And thank you so much for listening. This has been Israel, selling a destination in the age of sustainable tourism. And with that, I will turn it back over to our lovely moderator.
Thank you very much, Kyle. That was great. Of course, if any of the people that are attending the webinar remotely today, you can submit questions to either the chat box or the Q&A box, and I'll read them out to Kyle.
Hi, Kyle. This is Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Great presentation. How are you?
I'm great. And yourself?
Good, thanks. Great presentation. I just have a couple of questions about how do you get there? How would a travel agent know where to go to book a flight or package? Do you know who flies there?
So there are multiple of airlines. I believe there's about, if I remember reading, like 10 flights coming out of Canada on a daily to Israel. I know there's some of the major providers are Air Canada. There is Israel Air, Arab Air, I believe, or Arabic Air is one of the providers. For the best source for that kind of information, I was actually using your marketing website, Go Israel. it has a lot of great like links through to the different trips you'd be trying to plan through it. So depending which one's best for you, there might be a flight plan that would work with one of those different styles of trips.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, Kyle. My name is Ian Stalker. I work with Dan. Israel's the smallest country. How much time do you think tourists should spend there, and should they visit in combination with other countries in the region, or
So even though it is a smallish country, there is so much stuff to do. Like, honestly, I found myself just kind of lost. Like each time I would get into one of those like sub destinations, I would realize like, oh my God, I would need like at least a good month, maybe even 2 to really get the full experience out of the place. I would recommend probably at least a week in each location, depending on what you are looking to get out of it. It is absolutely possible to travel around to neighboring countries. You would just have to be careful of your travel routes due to the ongoing conflicts. Even one example that I had was Israel is primarily using a more electronic method when people are entering the country, but if that is failing, then you might have to do a stamp. You actually have to request not to get the stamp to even go through certain border areas, or else it can apparently cause for issues if going through like Gaza and the West End there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep.
And I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A box here to see if any other questions get submitted remotely. We'll allow another minute or so to see if anyone has any questions for Kyle.
Absolutely, no problem.
So Jerry asks, has anyone you know ever been to Israel, and what did they report about their visit? Did they feel safe?
Unfortunately, no one I personally know all that well has been, from my recollection, or at least I haven't talked with them in a trip in depth about it. But from what I gather, like, especially among like the religious or pilgrim tourists, is that a lot of the time they're not even seeing like kind of the border or the more conflict aspects while there. There's their pilgrimage and they enjoy themselves. Like overall, even from all of like the marketing collateral and stuff that I saw, it overall looks very safe, very fun. I would definitely recommend it. I merely just had to touch on some of these bases just because of what I was reading on the travel advisories, as well as just with some of the recent events that have occurred unfortunately, politics-wise.
Great, thank you, Kyle.
No problem.
Let's give it another 60 seconds or so, see if anything else gets submitted. And Kyle, did you happen to check in at all with the Israel Ministry of Tourism in Toronto when doing your research
So I did have,
regarding travel advisories and such?
I did have some information from them based on, they did actually come into my class in a previous semester and gave a PowerPoint presentation. So I did actually go back into the old course log through my Conestoga profile and pulled that up to go through for some information. But I did not directly consult them on this one.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, I do believe that's it for the questions today, but I would like to thank everyone that tuned in the webinar today. Thank you all so much for participating. And Kyle, thank you so much for presenting for us.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much for participating in the 2020 Baxter Student Ambassador Program. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Y'all have a good day.
Bye, everyone. Take care.